Why did Joseph's brothers hate him? Conventional wisdom suggests that they hated him because Joseph presented himself as better than his brothers. But when you actually look carefully at the story and carefully at the verses, you see that the brothers begin hating Joseph even before he tells them his dreams. In other words, it seems that it's not the content of the dreams that bothers the brothers as much as it is the fact that Joseph is a dreamer. So the question is, what is so bad about dreaming? Why hate somebody, even your brother, simply because they dream? About 50 years ago, Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik of blessed memory delivered a lecture where he discusses that very question, analyzing Joseph and his dreams and the reactions of the brothers. His analysis helps us, I think, to understand the nature of that question, the nature of the conflict between Joseph and his brothers. In that lecture, Rabbi Soloveitchik compares Joseph and his brothers to Zionists and non-Zionists. According to him, Zionists were dreamers. They saw the need for a Jewish state and took the necessary actions to make it a reality. And in contrast, the anti-Zionists, they were like the brothers, anti-dreamers. The anti-Zionists could not tolerate or fathom the risks that would necessarily be involved in such an endeavor. They saw the pursuit of a Jewish state as fraught with danger. From one perspective, dangerous for survival, for Jewish survival in America, and from another perspective, dangerous for Jewish survival and Jewish tradition. It was simply too risky to take Judaism into the sphere of state-making. These two worldviews, that of the dreamer and the anti-dreamer, they really can't coexist in harmony, just like a Zionist and an anti-Zionist can't reconcile their different approaches and beliefs. Their relationship is necessarily fraught with disapproval, even hatred. Joseph sees possibility. He sees hope. He sees majesty. He sees a different future. Just like the Zionists, who themselves saw a better future and were willing to take the risks in order to get there. But his brothers, all they could see was the comfort of the status quo. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to take the risks even of imagining a future that might be different from the one that they already know and presume. You would think that a congregation like ours, so devoted to and passionate about Israel, wouldn't need a reminder about the importance of dreaming. But I think we all need that reminder from time to time. The realities of life cause us to become accustomed to things that we shouldn't become accustomed to. It's good for us to have a reminder of impossible dreams coming true. Bayamim hahem, in days past, uvazman hazeh, and even dreams coming true in our day. We will have such a reminder at our program this coming Monday, celebrating nothing less than a dream which was achieved this year in the Middle East called the Abraham Accords. I'm going to be participating in the program that the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs is organizing, along with dignitaries and diplomats from around the world. We're going to light the Chanukiah candles together for the first time in Israel, Canada, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates, all simultaneously. No matter what you think of the current American president or the current Israeli prime minister, the achievement of the Abraham Accords is truly worthy of commemoration and examination too. Let's remember the premise of the Oslo Accords of 1993. The premise was that Israel had to take risks for peace, that only an Israel that was willing to make itself weaker could reach an agreement with the Palestinians, and that only peace with the Palestinians would allow for normalization with the Arab world. Israelis believed that premise so much that they actually gave it a try. Israel took the risks, made the concessions, signed the agreements, all for the sake of peace. But what did Israel get in return? Bus bombings, cafe massacres, terrible violence. So Oslo went nowhere, and along with it, for many people, that dream that Israel could ever see peace, certainly any peace with its Arab neighbors. As late as 2016, John Kerry said, and I quote, "There will be no advanced and separate peace with the Arab world without the Palestinian process and Palestinian peace. Everyone needs to understand that. That is a hard reality." End quote. Well, thank goodness we didn't listen to John Kerry. Like many other experts, he got this one wrong. And because we didn't stop dreaming, Israel and its partners seized an opportunity presented by the current geopolitical reality in the Middle East. A Middle East that is today much more worried about Iran than any other issue, foreign or domestic. And lo and behold, we find that it is actually not Israeli weakness, but Israeli strength that makes it so attractive a partner. And it has been shown, and it has now been concluded, that an agreement with the Palestinians is not necessary for normalization with other Arab countries. Not just Bahrain, not just the United Arab Emirates, but just a couple of days ago with Morocco too. That does not mean that we shouldn't continue to work towards peace with the Palestinians, but it does mean we should, as Pirkei Avot teaches, be rodfei shalom, pursuing peace, chasing after peace with anybody who's willing, no matter where we find it. Even if it makes it uncomfortable, even when it seems unreasonable, even when the experts say it won't ever happen. Never stop dreaming. It's amazing. I've spoken to the media about the event. I've tried to promote it, but they don't seem interested. I guess there are other more important events happening in the world today. Apple comes out with a new phone, and it's on the cover of every newspaper, but peace between former adversaries, they yawn at that today. In our Parsha, Jacob's dreams are contrasted not just with his brother's anti-dream disposition, but even his father's. The Parsha opens up with the words, Vayeshev Yaakov, Jacob dwelled in the land. The sages elucidate, Bikesh Yaakov leishev beshalva. Jacob just wanted to reside in tranquility. Jacob had a difficult life. He had been on the run from his brother, mistreated by his father-in-law, raised a whole bunch of children. Can't blame him. He wanted a little bit of a break to live peacefully. And when Joseph tells his family about the second dream, the dream of the sun, the moon, and the stars, it's not his brothers but his father who chastises him. Ma hachalom hazeh asher chalamta. Jacob says to his son, what is this dream that you have dreamed? It would actually seem that Joseph's brothers were just embracing their father's attitude on life. Satisfied and happy, good enough with the way things were in the world around them. Resentful of Joseph or anybody else who dreamed of what might be. Joseph, the Zionist founders of the State of Israel, the signatories to the Abraham Accords, and all subsequent dreamers, they remind us of the need to think big, to reach as high as we possibly can. And Hanukkah also teaches this message. According to the Talmud, 1 candle per household suffices to fulfill the mitzvah of the Hanukkah lights. A better way to fulfill the mitzvah is to light 1 candle per person in that household. That's a little bit better. But the best way to fulfill the mitzvah is for each person who lights to light an ascending number of candles each night. That is called mehadrin min hamehadrin, the best of the best ways to perform the mitzvah. Now, how do you all light your Chanukiot at home? Unique among Jewish practices, everybody I know lights Hanukkah candles in the best way possible. Mehadrin min hamehadrin. For most other Jewish observances, we're happy if Jews do the minimum, if they do it at all. But not with Hanukkah lights. On Hanukkah, each of us, in the very way we light our candles, sends a message. We reach for the highest. We dream big. The word mehadrin shares a root with the Hebrew word for repeat. On Hanukkah, we are reminded of the need to keep striving, to keep going, to keep dreaming, never to be satisfied with the present circumstances. Shir HaMa'alot Beshuv Hashem et Zion Hayinu Kecholmim. Do you remember those words? They're recited on Shabbat and other holidays before Birkat HaMazon, a song of ascents. When the Lord returns us to Zion, we will be like dreamers. The psalm expresses hope and a yearning for a return to Zion and says, when it happens, it will be like a dream come true. And doesn't Israel continue to be a dream come true? So I suggest we learn from the psalm and from the realities that are around us, Bazman Hazeh, even in these days, so that we can dream more. Let's not desire to dwell like Jacob did, bishalva, in complacency, but have the courage to see things beyond the status quo, to dream bigger, to strive harder, to reach higher. And may God grant us success in all of our endeavors. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will.